To multiply matrices today and how we go about multiplying matrices. Now, just kind of a reminder from yesterday, one of the things we looked at yesterday and that we talked about yesterday was we talked about how do we know if we can add two matrices together or subtract two matrices from each other. And we said kind of the key to that was taking a look at the dimensions and making sure those dimensions were the same. And as long as they were the same, we could go ahead and multiply them together. That's not the case when you multiply. Another thing has to happen. If they're the same, obviously you're going to be able to multiply them. But if they're not the same dimensions, there's a way that you can multiply them too. So just kind of a little quick reminder from yesterday with the adding. If we have something like 3, 4, 2, and negative 1, and we're going to take and add to that negative 4, 6, 0, and negative 7. We're going to take these two matrices and add them together. And we said the first thing that we wanted to be able to do is make sure that we could do it. So they had to have the same dimensions. And when we did the dimensions, we said the dimensions were the number of rows by the number of columns. So in this case, it's a 2 by 2 and a 2 by 2, 2 rows and 2 columns. And because it was 2 rows and 2 columns, for both of them, we said, yep, you could do this. And your resulting matrices was going to be a 2 by 2 as well. And then the way we added them is we just took the elements that were in corresponding parts, or corresponding spots, and we took those and we added them together. Or subtracted them because we were doing subtraction as well. And we can kind of color code it a little bit. And then 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1. So first row, first column is going to be a negative 1. First row, second column is going to be a 2. 2 plus 0 is 2. 4 plus 6 is 10. So second row, first column is 10. And then second row, second column is negative 8. And that then was our resulting matrix when we were taking these two and putting them together. Well, then we said, okay, let's say that I have a 2 by 3. So we've got 2 rows and 3 columns. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Say we have one that's 2 by 3. 2 rows and 3 columns. Could we add that to something that was, let's say, 3 rows, 4, 1, and 6, and 2, 3, and 8? Could we multiply that by a 3 by 2? Or could we add those two things together? I'm sorry. No, we couldn't do that. We said that this then was undefined as far as things go. So we couldn't take those and add them together because they weren't exactly the same. Well, that's not going to be the case if we multiply. These two actually, in both cases, you're able to take these two and multiply them. And the way we determine if we can multiply them is we look at the dimensions. And more specifically, we look kind of at that middle term. So if we're going to talk about multiplying, and I don't know if I can cut and copy this. I hope I can. I'm going to try to do this. It's not going to let me. Anyway, so let's take and reproduce it, kind of. I might put different numbers with this. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And I'm going to change these numbers just a little bit because I don't want it to be too bad to multiply. So we've got these two matrices now. So this is a 2 by 3 matrix. It's got 2 rows and 3 columns. This one has 3 rows and 2 columns. So when you're determining if they can multiply them together or not, the first thing you do is you look at these middle terms. And if these middle dimensions are the same, then they can be multiplied. If they're not the same, they can't. So since these are the same, these are able to multiply. If these weren't the same, then you would say it's undefined, and you're done. But because they're the same, we could multiply these two together. The resulting matrix that's going to be created, okay, so we've got this equal to something here at the end. We've got two different sizes. How do we know what the end sizes are going to be? Well, these two pieces right here are going to determine what your final dimensions are for your new matrix. So when we create this, we are going to create a 2 by 2 matrix is what's going to happen when we do this. Okay, so the middle ones determine if you can do it or not. They have to be the same in order to do it. The outside ones determine what size your matrix is going to be. So we're going to have this 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, so I got to shrink mine a little bit because we're going to go ahead and do this one. So my resulting matrix that I'm going to create is going to be this 2 by 2 matrix. And I'm going to have to make it pretty big here to start out with, because it's a little bit to this when we're multiplying. When we're multiplying matrices, it's all about rows and it's all about columns. It's about taking a row times a column. And where that matrix is going to be placed is where that row and column is. So if you look at what I have highlighted now, I have the first row and the first column highlighted. That means the solution, when we get to that solution is going to go right here. Probably made it too big. How we're going to get there, we'll get there in just a second. But that's where that solution is going to go. If I take this and shift now this to over here, now the solution for the first row in the second column, that solution is going to go right here. And again, I'll show you how to get those solutions in just a second. I haven't showed you yet. We'll show you how to get them in just a second. But as you kind of change these things, and it didn't do here what I needed it to do. Let's erase this and this kind of go away. As I move things around, if I move this down to here, and I look at this one, where do you suppose the solution is going to go? It's the second row, first column. So that second row, first column, that answer is going to go right there. And then the last piece of it, I'm going to leave the row alone. I'm going to move this column over here so you can kind of see how it shifts around depending on what row and which column that you're talking about and how you go about getting that answer. Okay, so now how do we get the answers from it? How we get the answers from it are by multiplying and adding the elements of those pieces. So if I'm looking at the first one, I'm looking at the first row and I'm looking at the first column. That means all of my answers are going to go in this spot. The way you get those answers is by multiplying the first term times the first term. So the first term is 2 in that row. The first term in that column is 1. So I'm going to take 2 times 1. Plus, then I'm going to take the second term in the row and the second term in the column and multiply them together. So that's 6 times 2. As you can see, I knew I would run out of room. Plus, now I'm going to take the third element in each of those and multiply them together. 10 times 3. That's going to give me that answer for the first one, first column, and we'll put that all together here in just a second. Now I'm going to shift over to the first row, second column. So now all my answers are going to go right here. And you can see how this needs some space. But I'm doing it the same way. First element is the 2 of the row. First element of the column is a 0. So I'm going to take 2 times 0. Plus, second element in the row is 6. Second element in the column is 1. So 6 times 1. Plus, really out of room, third element is 10. Third element is 4. 10 times 4, sorry. Let's try to write this a little, see if we can write that maybe a little bit better. See if I can move all this. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. This was 2 times 1. 2 times 1. Everything's working so well right now. There. So we said this was 2 times 0 plus 6 times 1 plus 10 times 4. Okay. Everybody kind of see how I got them? Now we're going to go down here and figure out what needs to go down in there. So I need to move my little highlight. So I'm going to move this down here, and I'm going to move this over here. And now I'm looking at the first element of the row, which is 4, times the first element of the column, which is 1. So this is going to be 4 times 1, plus, what times what? 8 times 2. Second one. What's the last one? 12 and 3. Do I have any more to do with that one? Nope. Now I'm going to move this to over here. That didn't work. Well, I'm going to answer the door. You want to go figure out what goes in there? TJ. Sorry. So what goes down here? 4 times 0 plus 8 times 1. Don't know why I put that in there, but I did. Plus 12 times 4. So we've got them all now taken care of. Now we're going to shrink it a little bit more because that's what I do. And now we figure out what it is. So it's 2 plus 12 plus 30. 2 plus 12 plus 30. What is that? 44? Yep. That's 44. Now we do this one. It's 0 plus 6 plus 40. That's 46. Now we do this one. 4 plus 16 plus 36. 56. And the last one, 0 plus 8 plus 48. 56 again. That then is your solution for multiplying these two matrices together. How much of this do you need to write down? Do you think you need to write this down every time? No. That you probably don't need to write down every time. I wrote it down this time just to kind of so you guys could see what was going on. Do you think you need to write this down? I would. I would write that down. If you don't write that down, especially when we start to get negatives introduced, you'll confuse yourself. So try to write that second part down, and then obviously you've got to write the answer down when you get to that. But It's not that bad. It's rows times columns. Rows times columns. Element times element plus element times element. Okay, so let's look at another one. Let's make this bigger. Not that big. Okay, so let's look at, say we've got the matrix 4, -2, 3, -1. And we're going to take that times 5 and -3. So we've got these two matrices. So step 1, dimensions. We have to see if we can do it. So the first one, 2 rows, 2 columns. It's 2 by 2. Second one, 2 rows, 1 column. 2 by 1. If you look at the middle terms, they're the same. So since they're the same, yep, you can do it. Our new one. Is what our new one's going to be. It's going to be a 2 by 1, which is what that one is. Okay. I've got an advantage. I can highlight my rows and I can highlight my columns. Circle them. Okay. So now when I write my next one, when I write this kind of this last little one, I've got this 2 by 1 thing going on, so I know it's going to be a little bit longer and narrow. 4 times 5, so first element times first element. 4 times 5 is 20, plus second element times second element. -9, right? So we've got 20 plus -9. Now there's nowhere else I can go. I can't move to other columns, right? Since I can't move to other columns, I'm just going to slide this down here. And now again, we do first element times first element. -2 times 5, -10. Remember, we're multiplying. Second element times second element. -1 times -3. +3, and we're going to add those together. End result, 20 plus -9, 11. -10 plus 3, -7. There's our end matrix for these two. Becomes about rows and columns. And taking those different rows and merging them with the different columns. My gosh, busy day. All right, let's take a look at another one. It's -2, 0, 3, and 1 times 5, -2, 3, -1. Check to see if we can do it first. 2 by 2. 2 by 2. So can we do it? These are the same. So yes, the resulting matrix, 2 by 2. 2 rows, 2 columns. Highlight the first row and the first column. Or circle them. Do whatever you have to do. What's that give me? So we've got -10 plus 0. -2 times 5 is -10. 0 times -2 is 0. I'm going to take these away. Now we're going to do this one. Now think about where this is going to go. This is the first row, second column. So I got to go first row, second column. That's right there. That's where this matrices needs to be written. First element, -2 times 3. 0 times -1. Okay, so that one's done. I'm going to move both of them now because I've gone all the way to the past. Now we move down and over back. 3 times 5. 15. Plus -2. And then 9 plus -1 equals -10 plus 0, -10. -6 plus 0, -6. 13 and 8. That's our resulting matrix. You get that pattern kind of locked in your head. You always know where the next one has to come because just check which row and column is. That's where it's going to go when you do these. I'm hungry. It's never good. Ready to try one? All right, let's try this one. And you make sure you can do it first. You'll be able to do it. -5, -2, -1, -4, 1, and 3 times 2, -2, 0, 5, 0, and 3. Take those two matrices. You've got a 2 by 3 and a 3 by 2. Take those two matrices and multiply them together.
You say the price of my love is not a price that you're willing to pay. You cry in your tears, but you hurl in the sea when you see me go by. Why so sad? Remember we made an arrangement when you went away. Now you're making me mad. Remember, despite our estrangement, I'm your man. You'll be back, soon you'll see. You'll remember you belong to me. You'll be back, time will tell. You'll remember that I served you well. Oceans rise, empires fall. We have seen each other through it all. And when push comes to shove, I will send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love. Da 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 da. Da 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 ya da. Da 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 ya da. Da 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 da. Da 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 ya da. Da 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 da. You say our love is draining and you can't go on. You'll be the one complaining when I am gone. And no, don't change the subject, 'cause you're my favorite subject. My sweet, submissive subject. My loyal, royal subject. Forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. You'll be back like before. I will fight the fight and win the war. For your love, for your praise, and I'll love you till my dying days. When you're gone, I'm going mad. So don't throw away the sting
We have
'cause when push comes to
I may have messed up. Which one? Which one? Oh, it should be -8, not +8. That's not bad. You're not singing. Some of you wanted to. Some of you know you wanted to blast that out right there. Choir or not, when that comes up, you got to want to sing it. And if half of us are by ourselves, you'll sing it. Or in your car driving. It's just can't do it in front of other people because I can't hit that note. Questions? Look up. It's there. You've got to be careful with this stuff. Obviously, it's easy to make mistakes. Obviously, I missed the -8. Okay, -10 + 2. I have it. And then just kind of messed it up. Okay. So it not a bad idea to double check yourself to make sure you've done these correctly. It all comes about rows and columns. Are you able to highlight? Yeah. Put a circle around them if it helps you. Some of you may be able to skip that whole completely and you can just visualize what you have to do. The part I will tell you that is hard to skip, this part right here, it's tricky to skip. If you try to skip that and just go straight to the answers, it's going to bite you. It's going to get you. Hey. What's that? We do? It's not even snowing. I could use a snow day. I don't either. We would like to study for finals. Do we have a final in here? Oh, yeah, we do. We have a final in here. Oh, and we met today and talked about it as teachers. So here's the deal. Do you have a final? Yes. Is it over everything we've done? Yeah, kind of. We pick specific things that we want to make sure that you know how to do, and that if you don't know how to do them, whoever your second semester teacher is will have an idea of, oh, wait, we need to go back and cover that. Are we taking the hardest thing out of every section and putting it on this? Of course not. No. No, we're not doing it. It's going to be about 20 questions, 20 max. 20 max, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 20. Non-multiple guess. So it is all short answer. In other words, you're going to have to put the answers on it. You're not going to be given a multiple choice. Can you use notes? Yes and no. Yes, you get one sheet of paper, front and back, that you can fill out, that you'll have to turn in when you finish the assessment. You'll have to turn that in. What are you going to put on that? Nothing until you get the review back. So don't start to make it now because you'll fill it too much. You guys have seen the tests that we write and the reviews we write. They're exactly the same except for some numbers, right? So it wouldn't make sense to start to go through your notes and write down formulas until you see the review and know what's going to be on there. Because it doesn't make any sense to write the quadratic formula on your review sheet if the quadratic formula isn't on the test. I'll tell you it's on the test. But we'll get that towards the end of the week. We're kind of making that up right now. Hopefully we'll have that review to you by Thursday or Friday, probably closer to Friday before we get that, okay? You are going to have a test on Friday. The test on Friday is over the matrix. We've got addition and subtraction done. We've got multiplication done. Tomorrow, we're going to kind of combine addition and subtraction and scalar multiplication. We'll do a few more of these tomorrow to make sure you're good to go. Thursday's review, Friday's the assessment. The worksheet for today, it's right there. Grab it, take it, do it, get her done.